Pozdravljeni, drage gledalke, dragi gledalci. Dobrodošli v oddaji Dobro je vedeti. Z nami nocoj je Haimo Primas, generalni direktor Lafarge Trbovlje. V Lafargeu dela že od leta 2003. Če ga na kratko predstavim, seveda, trboveljski cementarni se je pridružil decembra 2010 in z 1. januarjem 2011 prevzel funkcijo njenega finančnega direktorja. To je upravljal do julija 2012, ko je prevzel vodenje nabave za Lafarge Srednja Evropa in za Avstrijo. Vodenje trboveljske cementarne pa je prevzel pred dobrim letom in je skupaj z ostalimi člani vodstva odgovoren za poslovanje Lafargea v Sloveniji in na Hrvaškem. Poroča izvršnemu direktorju Lafarge Srednja Evropa in je tudi član vodstva Lafarge Srednja Evropa. Takole sem ga na kratko predstavila. Hello, Haimo.
Dobar dan.
How are you?
Hvala, odlično.
So we had the interview in November last year. There are some new things to tell in these 4 months. So let's begin with your plans in 2014. What are your main goals for this year?
Yeah. There's one challenge. It's this year business. What we had to do is to stop our kiln for the next 6 months. That's mainly market related, and it's also challenging for the utilization of people. The second is our Ippc Permit. What has changed since last November is that we got a positive Ippc permit from ARSO. It's only a first level decision because at the moment it's an appeal at the environmental ministry. And the third topic, which is also quite important for this year, our programs, volunteering and rehabilitation and planting trees. We'll perhaps talk a little bit later. So I would say these are the main topics. A change of operation because the markets are still not that strong as we would need. The second is to follow our environmental permit. And the third is to increase our social and environmental responsibilities.
How much production do you plan for this year?
If we talk about our main operation, that's the kiln, we will run most probably 3 months. And compared to last year, it's 50% less. But that is, a part is reflected from the market because market is low. And the second, it's a production strategy which we follow for a longer period, for 3-4 years. And therefore it can be that in 1 year we produce more like last year and less like this year.
But situation in construction sector is slowly recovering. Do you feel it already in your company?
Yes, it's recovering, but very slowly. If we compare the first quarter, I mean, we are now mid of March. If we compare it to last year, it's a little bit better, but also the weather was better. Last year we had a long period of snow and winter. This year it was a more short period. Slovenia had this heavy ice and snow problems. But to say we are back on track like a few years ago, no, that's for sure not. It's slowly happening. There's still big projects missing. What is better now is the private consumption, and that should also stabilize the construction business.
So the most important probably for Lafarge are these bigger projects. So what do they mean for your factory, these big projects like hydropower plants on Sava and some similar projects?
Projects like hydropower plant in Sava, River Sava are local projects. Of course, they also have more local impact on economy. But if we compare the total construction output or consumption of material like cement for a hydropower plant and compared to the full market, we're talking about 2-3%. So as a project, it's small, but it's a very local project, and for that it's very important. Constructing hydropower plants in Sava River, of course, will give a benefit opportunity also for Lafarge and also for the region, as it's building and constructing network, infrastructure, and for that also give local people jobs.
And that is what the local area needs in future.
Especially Zasauje. I mean, Zasauje is one of the worst regions in Slovenia if we talk about unemployment.
Yes.
And doing projects here for sure will support.
So if we talk a little bit about IPPC permit that Lafarge received in January, what does that mean for Cementarna Trbovlje in future?
For Cementarna Trbovlje, it's most important to have this first step. The IPPC permit, as I always mentioned, is the very first step to keep business in Cementarna Trbovlje. We haven't got the final validation of the permit because there's still an appeal of NGOs and also of private person. We expect to get the IPPC permit, and it's also a precondition for the second step, which we always said that we will need to apply for an alternative fuel permit to be mid and long-term competitive on the market.
So which fuels you are allowed to use now?
At the moment,
IPPC permit.
At the moment we are allowed to use conventional fuels, and under conventional fuels, it's petcoke, coal, and light oil, and that's how we're operating.
So the current status of this permit is what is happening right now?
The current status is we received end of January a positive decision by ARSO granting us an IPPC permit.
Yes.
We had appeals from 2 NGOs and a private person. At the moment it's at the environmental ministry. And the environmental minister will have to take a decision about our permit. We're quite confident that the minister will confirm the permit, and legally there would be still the possibility to make a second appeal to go to administrative court. We don't know if NGOs or private person will use this opportunity, but also there we are quite confident to get right in the first level, to get an IPPC permit, as it is usual in Europe, in Austria, in Germany, in other countries, and would really be an exception if in Slovenia it would not work.
So there was also a press conference about this appeal
Yes.
that EcoCrog was organizing it. What was happening on this press conference?
The press conference was very okay. I mean, Uroš Macal, as head of EcoCrog, explained the reason why he as a person did an appeal. It's important to mention that EcoCrog has no status in the process. It's Mr. Macal. And I mean, the reasons are okay. Yeah? So it's very okay that people express their concerns, that people tell what they like, what they don't like. I think that's okay. I mean, how the press conference invitation was done, quite questionable from our point of view as Lafarge and also from my personal, because it's a kind of abuse of my picture. It's trying to play with emotions. It's also leaving the level of arguments to get to a different level, and that's emotion. It's not the way how we would do communication. Yes, the picture looks nice, but
you as a James Bond?
Yeah, I mean, but also James Bond is a good person, yeah? James Bond is helping the country, yeah? So, I mean, the message to EcoCrog, also to Uroš Macal, was it's not the way how Lafarge would like to communicate, and my main message was we need to get into a dialogue, we need to change the way of communication and stop that blocking. If we want to go on in Zasauje, not only in Trbovlje, then we need to talk, we need to meet, we really need to do a step forward.
So making fun of person on a personal level, actually, it's not a good way to communicate. I
don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I can cope with it. So, but it's it is a little bit unfair because it touches personal parts and personal areas. Yeah? It touches also my privacy, and I think that is not okay. Yeah? If you're in a discussion, if you can even have a very tough discussion where you use strong arguments, where you can have a very strong verbal fight, that is okay. Yeah? But this, I think, went too far. I hope that it will not happen again, and for sure it is violating private rules and rights, which of course would also give a possibility to go for legal actions, which I don't need to do now, but would be nice if EcoCog also would come back to a fair level of discussion and negotiation again.
And that's a message you were trying to send.
My
when
main
you
message
went
was
to
let's
this
go into
press
dialogue.
conference.
Let's go
Yes.
into dialogue again. I mean, just passing and sending messages. I think also in the past years and last years was not done most properly from the Lafarge side. So we changed the way how we communicate. We are very open. We want to invite people. We try to connect to our opponents because we want to understand their arguments.
So you said publicly also that you would like to meet with your opponents, especially with Matjaž Švagan and Uroš Macerl. Is there any positive movements in this direction?
Up to now, we are still waiting for confirmation. I mean, we asked several times to meet Matjaž Švagan. Our interest is very big and strong. Also to meet Uroš in person, not on a public hearing, but really in person. I mean, at the end of the day, decisions and politics is done by people, not by systems. And I need to understand who are they, what are they thinking, and I also want them to understand who am I. And I'm not Mr. Lafarge. I'm also a normal person who want to discuss and exchange, and what I mentioned before, to make sure that we make a step forward, not to block, but really together solve something.
So if I understand right, you didn't have, when you are general manager, you didn't have any meeting with Matjaž Švagan and Uroš Macerl yet.
Yeah.
What, before you were general manager?
No.
Were there any meetings with those two
Yeah,
persons?
with Uroš Macerl, I don't think. I'm not sure. With Mr. Švagan, I think previous GM met, of course, and again, it's my invitation to both of them that we find a date to meet separately and exchange. We will never convince ourselves of the other's opinion. That's not the idea, but to find a different way, a new way of communication.
But what about the mayors of Hrastnik and Trbovlje? You already met.
That's not a problem. I mean, to give a call to the mayor of Hrastnik and we get a meeting. The same for Trbovlje, not only the mayor, but people from municipality, not a problem. I understand that Zagorje, especially Matjaž Švagan, has, because of the history and of his opposing, perhaps difficulties to meet or is not really willing to meet. But it would be nice to find a way between two men, three men, me, Švagan, and Macerl, to have a talk. I think it should work. They should not be afraid. I'm a normal guy, normal person, so that should work.
I hope it will happen in future. So Lafarge employs about 80 people. It is still 80 jobs in the local area. What do you expect from local politics since you are employer here in?
I mean, 80 jobs is not nothing, but also, to be honest, it's not big. I mean, we are a small employer or medium employer in Zasauje. What I expect from politicians define the framework, they define the rules, and industry will have to follow the rules, and we follow the rules. So a job of politicians is also to give stability. We need a reliable network of rules. As an investor, you invest into future. So you have to be very clear that future is understood and that you know what is going to happen. If I look for the last 8 years, our IPPC process, 8 years not knowing what will happen. All the years, decisions after decision, going back again, this ping pong, these loops, make it difficult. So the main job of politicians is to build the framework, talking about industry, where industry can move on and work in.
Mm-hmm. So the usage of alternative fuels is still a future plan for the Cementarna Trbovlje.
As I always said, to be competitive on the market in Slovenia, to be treated on a fair way versus our competitors, and also the surrounding industries in other countries like Hungary, Austria, Germany, Italy, we need to get an AF permit. Otherwise, Cementarna Trbovlje will mid to long term not be competitive on the market. So it's an economic need to get it.
Mm-hmm.
In Slovenia, we have alternative fuel permits. In Austria, Germany, cement industry is running on more than 60% alternative fuel. Last week there was a conference about energetics in Ljubljana, and we also talked about alternative energy sources. It's not only solar and wind, it's also the energy which is in waste. For Slovenia, for sure, it's a new field, but the good examples in other countries, Austria, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, show that energy deriving out of waste can be a solution and
Mm-hmm.
should be a solution.
So right now you have permit for conventional fuels, but EcoKrog appealed against this permit.
Mm-hmm.
At first, they were fighting against alternative fuels. Now, also the usage of conventional fuels is not acceptable for them. What, in your opinion, is the goal of this fighting?
That's a good question. But before I answer it, what is the goal of EcoKrog? I think in environmental discussion, it should be most important to discuss about emission, means what is the impact on people and on environment, and in the second step about emission, what is coming out of a chimney. But it should be the least discussion what somebody puts into a system. If society can make sure that people are not harmed more, that environment is not damaged further, and you make sure you keep the legal limits, as Lafarge has to do, to Slovenian and European legislation, that should be the target and the aim of NGOs. But to define what you put into a system, I would say quite questionable. Coming back to your question, what is the aim of EcoKrog? I mean, as I said before, EcoKrog I see also as a platform for people to raise their concerns. It would be good if EcoKrog would also turn their strategy more towards we want to make sure to change, to improve. Because my question to EcoKrog also is, what did you do the last 8 years to improve the environmental situation in Zasavje? Blocking strategy, shutting down a small part of industry, that is not solving the problem. Because if we talk about PM10, if we talk about the emission situation, then we have big pollutants like traffic, households, which are for sure more difficult to tackle. But that would be a challenge also for an eco group like EcoKrog to find solutions. So again, what might be the target? To be a platform for people to tell what they don't like. Yeah? But would be nice if EcoKrog would turn their strategy into more solving than into blocking. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I know that Lafarge has done a lot about making the emissions better. How much can Lafarge still do in this field?
We told it several times. We invested more than 30 million euro into environmental technology. The biggest part for sure was the wet scrubber, which is reducing the SO2 emissions. I mean, there are two parts. The one part is to be compliant with the legislation that Lafarge is doing. We follow in most parts also the best available technology. which is legally required. What Lafarge can further do, well, that will depend also on the dialogue with the people. It's always a question of what politicians are giving as a rule, what the stakeholders are asking and requiring. And I also said at the press conference of EcoGog, mid of February, that we are open to discuss for additional measures. I can't promise what we would like or what we would be able to do, because it also has to make sense from environmental point of view, and also it has to be economic. You cannot invest millions into a technology which is not solving a problem just for the investment's sake. That we will not be able to do. But we are very open to meet people, to discuss, to listen to their concerns, and to find a solution how to further improve.
So, for example, if people would demand in constructive dialogue that the Lafarge would reduce the smell from that comes from factory, you would listen and you would try to
not only listen, because smell is something which is quite difficult to tackle, because you have no real legal limit for smell. And I also mentioned several times that smell which comes out of desulfurization systems is...
It's mentioned a lot of times from people here in this area that
so
it smells.
there is a technical reason why sometimes you can smell. It's not all the time. Sometimes you can smell. Reducing the emissions might cause smell. So you do something good and you get smell. Smell is something which in the cement industry is known, and it's one of the most difficult topics to solve, because you can't really measure it. Yes, there are possibilities to measure, but smell is very individual. So SO2, NOx, benzene, you can really measure. Smell, it's difficult to measure. So it is more challenging, but I don't say it's impossible to solve. So especially on smell, I think we will be able to find a solution. It requires a little bit more work, and it also requires feedback from the people, because smell sometimes occurs here, then it's sometimes here. So we need to know, and therefore we always ask the people to tell us. If you smell something, report it. It must not be us who is, but it's again about emission, so people feel it, and it doesn't mean necessarily that it is an emission coming from Cementana.
So how do you see the new program for improving the air quality in the Sauja? Is it going into the right direction?
Yes, for sure, it goes to the right direction. We're talking again about emission, so what people feel in their daily life. It's dusty, it smells, you have fog, you have smog. That's something which people see, feel, hear, and to improve the air quality where you live, that must be a big target of politicians as well. The program which is at the moment on the table is good, very good. It will be important to bring it into life. That requires resources financially, that requires some time and also good ideas. If you compare to other regions in Europe, there are very good solutions. And what I mentioned before, we have to be aware that we have three major pollutants, which is from the size of the contribution: traffic, households, and industry. Industry is for sure easier to organize. Households and traffic, very difficult, because you have individuals. But nevertheless, we should target it and find a solution.
If we talk about the future of the Sauja, actually, it doesn't look bright at this moment, especially about employment and future development. What could be changed in your opinion?
I've seen the last unemployment report for Trbovlje, also Sauja and Trbovlje, and there we are more than 20% unemployment rate. That is a disaster. I mean, means comparable to situations like in Spain and Greece, and that's very critical. What we can do, we need to understand that employment goes along with business, with industry. If you have countries where you have no industry, we have a few countries worldwide. They are mainly strong in financial, like Liechtenstein, Luxembourg. But that's not the job of Sasaue. The possibilities in Sasaue is industry, and to find a way of coexistence. So you have industry, you have people living there, to build and create local jobs. For that you need investment. And investment, again, goes back to your question a few minutes ago, what politicians will have to do to make a stable framework, a legal stable framework that investments are done, not only from Slovene companies, but also from companies abroad. That will bring Sasaue one step forward. To think that Sasaue can turn into a touristic region, I don't think that's the solution. No? I mean, if you compare it to other countries, touristic regions have a long development. I mean, some parts might work in Sasaue, yes, but we have to accept that there is an industrial strength. There are very clever and smart people, young people with a lot of energy, and we need to utilize them. And that's also the job of the politicians to, again, enable a network that industry and people are investing here.
Lafarge is also doing something for tourism. You have industrial pet.
Yeah. That is more to bring industry to the people, to make them understand what does it mean industrial activity, especially for Cementarna Trbovlje. I mean, in media, if it's talked about Lafarge, it's always very often connected to Eco-Krog, very often connected to bad stories about Ippc Permit, and the industrial path is a possibility to show there's something else. I mean, they are just producing, they produce in a very, very proper way, and we had almost 2,000 visitors last year, schools, families, partners from customers, suppliers, industrial partners going through the plant and seeing with their eyes what does it mean to produce cement, how it is done. And these industrial paths are done across Europe, so it's nothing which is only here. So you have a lot of factories where you can do that, steel industry, glass industry, and offers the people the possibility to understand what industry means.
You have also improved the visual impact of your factory. How are you satisfied with all of these projects, and will you continue with such projects?
When we talk about industrial activities, we always talk about the footprint. Most of the people know the CO2 footprint. You can calculate in internet your personal CO2 footprint. So immediately, if you have industrial activity, you have an impact on the local environment. That is a fact. It's the responsibility of industry to minimize this, or if it's not possible with a direct action, to compensate. Cementarna Trbovlje over the last years has done a lot in improving visual appearance, like planting trees, making it nice and tidy, and also really doing actions like planting trees in the quarry. But your question, yes, I think we are on the right way. We still can do a little bit more, and by that improve our picture, how to fit in the environment. I mean, we want to be part of the community. It's not here's Cementarna and there's the rest. We are part of the valley. We want to be in this valley and stay in this valley, and doing those projects like planting trees, changing the parking lot at the railway station. These are small possibilities to improve.
Yeah. It is a modern way of industry actually to have a connection with the local environment. It's not like in China where the industry can do everything it wants.
Yeah. I mean, it has changed. If you look to old pictures, also from Sasaue, where you have Cementarna and other industries, that is really a change. Industry has to make sure to live together with people. And if you want to live together with people and operate also like here in this valley, you need to take care. You need to discuss your company's values. You have to take your social responsibility, your environmental responsibility, and that's what Lafarge is doing. Not only here, it's worldwide project.
The new thing is also a volunteering program for employees in their local communities. Can you tell us something about this program?
Volunteering is also, it's nothing which we invented. I mean, it's a program which Lafarge worldwide is doing. Volunteering means that we enable our employees to donate a few hours per year to the local community, supporting and helping people who need help, helping to improve the environment, supporting NGOs like Caritas, for example. There are worldwide very good initiatives from other industries. One of the very good stories is this collecting food from shops before they put it on garbage or deposit, to collect it and to distribute it again to people and family who need it. It's about organization. It doesn't require money, it doesn't require a lot of resources, but time. That's what Lafarge wants to give, time. People do it in their normal working time, so people normally get paid for it. And the target of Lafarge is to have 2 days per employee until 2020 to give to the local community.
And you are already organizing the fields where
we have
the volunteers could work.
Yeah. We have already
and help.
kicked off. We talked to the municipality of Trbovlje. We met schools. We will contact also the social NGOs of Trbovlje. It's really meant for the community and the city where you live. It's about taking a social responsibility and as I mentioned before, it's about coexistence. We are part of the community and we want to show that.
So do you think that this program could attract also other companies in Zasavje to volunteer?
For sure. I mean, I heard that in Slovenia companies are already doing this, and it's nothing new. I think it also can be seen as a kickoff of an idea which other industries in Zasavje could follow, and would be nice if we would find some partners there as well. Yeah?
If we go back to daily business, you already said you employ about 80 people. What are your future plans?
That will for sure depend on the legal status of our permit. As I mentioned before, it will be most important to get the Ippc permit finally validated. That should happen within mid of this year. For the future operation, it will also depend on the AF permit, so the scope of business. At the moment, we employ 80 to 90 people, depending on our business. We are offering scholarships for people. We have the plan to offer also a scholarship for electricians this year. It's a little bit what we can do. For sure, no big moves, but small moves for 1-2 employees. As far as I know, we have some people who will retire within the next years. It will make sense to replace them with local people if the expertise is there. So a little bit we can do. It will not be much.
Does the Lafarge do any scholarships at the moment?
Yes, I just mentioned before, so we have some scholarships for the kids and students of our employees, and we are also considering to offer scholarship for electricians for the next time, so a little bit we are doing.
So at the end of our interview, would you like to add anything to our viewers?
Just to say, najlepša hvala za vašu pozornost. So thanks for the interview and the time.
So I see you are learning more and more Slovenian.
A little bit, yes.
I thank you for this conversation.
Ni za kaj.
I look forward to see you again in the studio.
Thank you again.
Vam, drage gledalke in dragi gledalci, pa hvala za vašo pozornost in nasvidenje.